I love fires in the summertime. Springtime, fall as well, it doesn't matter. Fires in the backyard are awesome. It's a pretty good pastime around here. Now I've got a new to me fire pit. It's a little rusty, but it's not a big deal. But I need a place to store my firewood. So it's gonna go over top of my shoulder here beside the big shed. But because this backyard is substantially smaller than my last house, the shed itself is also gonna be just a little gaffer. So there'll be plans available if you want to build one for yourself. It's going to be a great size for a backyard, but I guess right now it's just a disassembled firewood shed, aka a pile of lumber, so let's do something with that. And I'm going to start doing something by building the floor framing. Now, just like the big shed that I built last year, it's going to have a couple of rim joists and some floor joists in between, but I'm only making it out of 2x6 instead of 2x8 like I did for that guy because it's a lot smaller, but it's still holding some decent weight when it's full. Alright, now we can get to screwing this guy together. And to do that, I've got some 3-inch coated screws. Now these are coated and treated for ACQ or pressure treated wood. That way they don't rust. If you use regular deck screws, they're going to rust. And the amount is really simple. I'm using 2x6 boards here. So I need 1, 2, 3. You need 1 screw per every 2 inches of material. So I need 3 screws per joint to be correct. Because otherwise they will get mad, whoever they are. Now, in a bunch of previous videos, I tend to use my hand quite a bit to smack things into place, and I have a bunch of people that complain and tell me I'm going to hurt my hand, which is fair. So to all those people, I found my hammer. Now, this is where one of these framing hammers comes in handy. This jaw right here fits over top of the board, and I can twist it because this board's got a bit of a twist and it's sitting at an angle inside the frame. So I can twist it and straighten out the bottom. There. From there I can move on to cutting my 4x4 posts. These are what's going to go in each corner of the floor framing and are going to hold up the roof. Freaking wasp. Bite me in the head. Anyway, we're going to have to make 2 passes through the 4x4 because the saw blade's not long enough to go through the whole thing, but that's not a big deal. Oh, I don't think I've ever cut one so clean. There's usually at least a little bit of a lip, like a 1/16 of an inch. That is probably the smoothest double cut I've ever made on a 4x4. Now, the only thing I had to watch here was to keep them oriented correctly because I had 2 different sizes. Almost put them in the wrong spot. Now, to keep the posts from racking side to side, I'm going to add these 2 blocks on either side of the post. This way they're sandwiched from a couple directions. Once we get the roof on, it'll be stupid strong. There are a bunch of different ways you could set this shed on the ground later on. So depending on what you do, depends on whether you need this or not. It's up to you. I'm just going to be setting mine on a bed of rocks, so this will just help spread out the load a little bit and keep some air flowing underneath. But if you're just going to set it on some patio stones, you may not need those. You may. It's up to you. Now for the deck flooring, I guess you could call it a deck. It's basically a deck. I'm using some 5/4 boards here, but I've heard that they can be kind of difficult to get for some people, so some regular just 1x6 will also work. It's not a big deal. But I am notching it to fit around my 4x4 post, so I've got to cut out that square chunk, and the jigsaw is by far and away the best tool for this. You just have to be close. It doesn't have to be perfectly exact. It's just rough framing. Wait a minute. I have a hammer. And then this goes there. When it came to screwing down my deck boards, I just did it with my drill and I burned them in reverse. However, I would recommend pre-drilling so they don't split. And my center boards, I just eyeballed them with the old calibrated eyeball because they just need to be close. Oh boy, that chair looks comfy right about now. Plans for that too if you want. Blatant self-promotion aside, I could start getting the angle from my roof at this point. So I'm measuring the maximum height. I want the lowest part of my roof on the back of my back post and the top of my front post. That one was already perfect. From there I could trace a line from point to point and cut them off. Now this cut can be a little sketchy to make. I've made it lots of times before, but use whatever saw you feel comfortable with. One thing I'm tweaking from the last firewood shed that I made is I'm adding a slight overhang on the front and the back. So I'm setting my rafter in place with a little bit of overhang front and rear, and I'm tracing a line. Now off the front, I'm using a scrap 4x4 to add 3.5 inches, and off the back, I'm adding 1.5 inches with a scrap 2x6. Those are my new lines I'm going to cut my rafter out at. Once I had that one cut out, I could cut out 2 more. And on one of them, I'm going to use the 4x4 and 2x6 to trace the old lines onto, just so they line up with the 4x4s later on when I go to put them on. Speaking of putting them on, you can kind of see here that my posts are twisted. So I have to pull them together as I clamp them on. Now, if you have a second set of hands, somebody to help you, you don't need the clamps. Clamps are just a really good idea if you're by yourself. Now once I had everything clamped back together, I could put my front fascia board on, and that one's flush with the top. The back, not so much, because of our roof angle. This one's going to be set down slightly, so using a straight edge, make sure everything's in alignment, and then screw that guy on. So much for the hammer. Well, I tried. Unfortunately, because my posts were so twisted, my roof was massively cockeyed, not a square. So, what I had to do was grab a ratchet strap out of the truck, attach it to one post, and a screw on the other side with a hook, and start cranking away on the ratchet strap until I pulled the front of the roof over and everything was square again. Then I left the strap on there and moved on to my roofing materials so I could lock it in place. The roofing design I'm going with is exactly what I used last time. It's simple, it's inexpensive, and it worked, so I figured why reinvent the wheel. Now it's literally just my 1x6 boards hanging over 1.5 inches off the back, 1 inch off the sides, and screw them in place and just start layering them as I go. The only thing you really need to watch out with on this roof is your overhangs are correct, side to side and from board to board. Now board to board is actually shrunk a little bit on 1 inch instead of 1.5 inches like off the back. And the screw holding on the back of the board is 2.5 inches long, but it's going in front of the previous board, so I don't risk putting it through the end of it and snapping the end of it off and cracking the board. Otherwise, just keep going until you reach that very last board. Now this one, if anything is slightly out of the whack, you can kind of cheat this one around, slide it forward or backward or angle it slightly as you need until it looks good to the eye. It's really all you need. Now you would think the walls would be pretty easy, he says, not foreshadowing at all. They're just 1x4 boards that I cut down and just space and screw them on. Now the spacing on the bottom is 1.5 inches with some scrap 2x6, and in between each is 3 inches, which is doubled up 2x6. Simple. No problems at all. Nope. Not one. Okay, one thing I just want to make mention of real quick is I had the camera off, I was just slamming the rest of these on, and I got to the top one here and it actually sloped downwards. I had a way bigger gap over here than I did over here, and my blocks could bounce around in there. So what I did was I basically lifted this one up until it was level with my fascia board to the eye. Then I went back, unscrewed this one, and lifted this end up ever so slightly, screwed it back on, lifted this one up less than that one,
And then I grabbed this one, unscrewed it, and lifted it up less than this one and that one. So there was a slight gradual raise on these 4 boards. So this, to the eye, it's correct, but you're never really gonna see like 1/8 of an inch or something like that if you lift up one side to level everything off. But you would definitely see a giant slope on this last board. If we gradually hide it along 4 boards, problem solved. Now another thing I'm having to do due to wonderful inaccuracies at the sawmill, you might notice that this board is freaking wasp. This board is wider than this board by about close to 1/8, 3/16 of an inch. So if I was to keep using my spacer blocks like these, eventually by the time I got to the top, this board would be up here. So what I'm having to do is eyeball this one until it's about centered on this board, fire in a screw. Then I'm setting my gap over here correctly and then dropping it down ever so slightly to match the decrease in distance back here, so I stay even all the way up. A little bit more annoying, but that's what you get when you're working with rough lumber. All right, now this is one of those instances where stack tolerances are kind of coming into play here. According to the plans, this is the piece that I need to fit right here. Now, because I was out slightly all the way up and my boards weren't exactly the correct 3.5 inches, somewhere a little bigger, somewhere a little smaller, by the time I get up to the top, you can see I don't really have 3.5 inches or 3 inches anymore. Now I could just put it in like that, which would actually be fine, but I want to maintain my gap. So what I'm going to do is slide my blocks in here, and then I'm just going to take a screw, make a mark on the back side, and there's my cut line. And if your boards are the correct size, then this piece in the plans is exactly what you need. But such is life. And through the magic of time-lapse and editing, knock the end of that off. I've got my 3-inch gap.
With that crisis averted, I could move on to my kindling storage, because I wanted to keep my kindling separate from the firewood this time. So in order to do that, I've got some 2x2 pressure treated wood here that I'm kind of making a little frame, and I've got some 1x4s that I'm kind of putting on as decking. Actually kind of looks like a pallet now. Anyway, now that my little deck floor is made, I can make marks on all 4 of my posts so I know it's going to be level in the hole and hammer it into place. I found my hammer again. Then I could screw it on from underneath and attach some walls up to the side so none of my kindling just rolls off and falls back in the shed. Isn't it nice when a project comes together without a single problem? Refreshing. Oh yeah, and don't do that.
Well, what do you guys think? Here it is, sitting in its final resting space on a bed of rock beside the other shed, just like I said it would. It's a little empty right now, and my poker stick has a little bit of a burnt end on it, but hey, that's because I had a fire and enjoyed it, and that's what it's all about. So, I guess now I have to refill it because, well, it's empty. So, that's an easy fix though. So I hope you guys like the build. I hope you like the project. If you did, just a comment, a thumbs up down below is a free, easy way to support the channel. I would really appreciate it. If you want to support the channel further, there's a thanks button down below as well. That would be amazing, but not necessary. And if you want to support the channel further, there is plans to this guy down below. It is the perfect size for a backyard, if I do say so myself, but hey, I may be biased. or there's plans to a whole bunch of other projects that I built as well. So thank you very much for watching, guys. I'll see you in the next one.